Joyous Rising, family. This is Dr. Kia Pruitt. It is Monday, July the 25th, 2022, and the time is 11:29 a.m. I hope you all are doing well. I have some breaking news, and I want to thank my sister, Latanya Robinson Golar, for sharing this news with me. This came out of the Vancouver Times, and I believe this is in Canada. Now, the WHO director was arrested for crimes against humanity. This is wonderful news. It's breaking news because we all know what has been perpetuated in our lifetime and around this time worldwide. So let me read this quickly and briefly because this is just a brief announcement about breaking news that's going on in our society today. The Vancouver Times reported the arrest of WHO Director Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, can't say his name, by Interpol as he was boarding a plane for Africa. Now, I spelled out WHO because you know if I say the word and what it stands for, I could get a strike against my channel. But look it up. He was arrested for crimes against the humanity while he was boarding a plane for Africa. The newspaper says he was charged with crimes against humanity. Tedros allegedly is being held in prison for crimes against humanity and for genocide. This comes as police agencies across the entire world have begun targeting politicians, businessmen, and corporate leaders for their role in the pandemic, the worldwide shutdown, and for pushing unnecessary and daily so-called cures on the entire human population. So you all know I can't say the word, but you know what they've been injecting into people and said it was a cure against the worldwide sickness. They arrested not only this gentleman, but businessmen, politicians, bureaucrats, and corporate leaders. Now, didn't I tell you all, and I posted a link to my article about how I said in March of 2020 that all this would go down and that these people would be arrested for crimes against humanity. I also told you that Executive Order 13818, which was signed by number 45, would freeze the assets of all those people who committed crimes against humanity. So now we see it happening. Now we can see with our own eyes. For all those people who say they don't see it, that it's a lie, it's not happening. Family, I'm telling you, it is happening. We see it now. Now it's making it to mainstream media. So I want you to be encouraged and keep your vibrations lifted because it's happening. They are having to deal with what they did to the people all across the planet. And this comes on the heels of another article that came out yesterday that's breaking news. And that article stated that Russia has now created their own currency that's against or different from the USD. And I'm not really sure why they're considering this breaking news because we've been reporting that on this channel and other truthers have been reporting it for the longest time, but people are shocked because they didn't believe it. So this is what's happening in the world. The BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa have decided to leave the United States dollar and to use another currency that is decentralized, that's separate from the United States dollar. Also, what we see happening is other countries joining along with those BRIC nations. Other countries such as Saudi Arabia, in Egypt, Turkey, Iran, Iraq, and many other nations will join along with BRICS. So they've either already joined with the BRICS nations or they've applied to be a part of these BRIC nations. And so what you see is a separation from the West. You see the whole world separating from Europe and from America. So what that means is that the United States dollar is losing its value. So yes, people are getting excited because they're like, oh, my house is going up in value and I'm excited about that. But the other side of that is when your house is going up in value and the cost of living is going up in value and oil is going up in cost and food is going up in cost. What that really means is that the dollar, the USD, the worldwide global currency that everybody agreed upon is losing its value. So yes, we have high inflation. And yes, you have, certain interest rates, but the high inflation is an indication that the USD is losing its value. And as the dollar decreases, the value of gold and precious metals increase. That's a known fact. And if you all follow CEO of Miles Franklin, which is a very popular online precious metals company and distributor, if you follow Andy Schectman, the CEO of Miles Franklin, he told you that there have been several people, billionaires, who are coming to him and buying $25 million worth of silver, $50 million worth of silver and gold. So the rich people are now rushing to precious metals, just like the banks, just like the nations having their precious metals repatriated back to them. So what does that mean, family? What that means is that we're about to see a complete total crash of the economic markets. We're about to see the whole world leave the United States dollar as the world reserve currency. Do you know what makes the USD a world reserve currency? It was an agreement that we had with Saudi Arabia that we protect you and you give us oil and we force the whole world to use the United States dollar to trade. That was the whole premise of the USD being a world reserve currency. But now that you see Saudi Arabia saying, I'm good on you, I don't need you, United States corporation, I'm separating myself from you, and they joined the BRICS nation, now there's no reason, there's no premise for the USD being a world reserve currency, because we're no longer protecting Saudi Arabia and they're distancing themselves from us. And as a matter of fact, I posted an article several videos ago where you see that Saudi Arabia is the #1 country that has silver and gold of all the Arab nations. They have the most amount of silver and gold of all the Arab nations. They are the richest and the wealthiest. So they distance themselves from the United States. So did China. China distanced themselves. And China, as a matter of fact, has agreed with Russia to move away from the dollar and move towards another stable currency. Will that be the yuan? I'm not sure. But whatever it is, you better believe it's gold backed. Because Brazil and the BRICS nations, I've already said, we're going to move away from the USD. We're going to drop the fiat dollar. We're going to have our own basket of currencies that are backed by gold. So people are now waking up and saying, oh my God, this is breaking news. China is working with Russia to distance themselves from the United States dollar. But we've been telling you this all along, that Xi and Putin were working with 45 to take down the deep state. People didn't want to believe it because they needed to see it first. But those of you all who are supporters of this channel and other truthers, and those of you all the digital soldiers, we all knew that this would come to a climax and a conclusion. So again, China's distanced themselves from the USD, the BRICS nations, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Iraq, Argentina, Turkey, and Egypt. So you see the Middle East and the whole world leaving the United States dollar and Europe. And so what I would encourage you today to do is to get on board. Because if the rich people are moving to gold and silver, like I told you, Andy Schectman already told us, billionaires are now getting millions, tens of millions of dollars in precious metals, then you, my darlings, can use this as an opportunity to invest in precious metals. So what that means is you can go down to your local dealer, look up numismatics in your area, in your city, or coin dealers in your city, and go while the precious metals prices are still being suppressed. Can you see? Right now I looked, I think silver is like $18.80 an ounce. $18.80 an ounce. Gold is like $1,700 an ounce. It might be out of your budget, but if it's in your budget, go get you some at your local coin dealer or your numismatics dealer. Or you can go online. You can look up Andy Schectman of Miles Franklin and ask him how you can acquire some silver and gold. There are many online dealers. Go and look and get you some silver while it's only $18.80 an ounce, because if you did what I encourage you to do and downloaded the US clock, the United States debt clock onto your computer or your phone, you see that the true value of silver is between $1,500 and sometimes it'll post as $2,000 an ounce. And gold, depending on the day you look at it, the true value is between $14,000 and $20,000 an ounce. So let's do the math. You buy an ounce of silver today at $19 an ounce, but the true value is $2,000 an ounce once we return to the gold and silver standard. What type of return on your investment will you get? A large return. You buy an ounce of gold for $1,700 or $1,800 an ounce, but the true value will be between $10,000 and $100,000, some economists say, an ounce. How much return on your investment will you get? A large return. And if you can't do that, get with your family members, pull your money together and start investing in silver and gold, because this is part of what the wealth transfer will look like. As well as those who have had their assets frozen, it will come back to us. Because your birth certificate bond was circulated on the New York Stock Exchange making money, and people have been trading under your Social Security number. These criminals have made money using your birth certificate and your Social Security number. So that money has to come back to you. So when people tell you it's not true, you tell them that they need to do their research, because a trust was created for each and every one of us at the time of our birth, and we will get that money back. Now, finally, in my conclusion, I created a video late last night and I said, stop blaming white people, because I'm really getting tired of people talking about racism, white supremacy, and all this. You know, I know that the deep state created systems to divide us, but at some point, we as sovereign beings are going to have to take accountability for what we have allowed. Some of this we have allowed. We have accepted handouts and freebies. We have accepted being treated as slaves, you know, and we have even accepted identities that aren't ours, like the indigenous people who call ourselves black. We're educated enough now to know that black is a status in law. It is a legal status. It is not an ethnicity. It is not a nationality. It is a legal status or a legal standing in law that says you have no status or no legal standing. Etymologically, black means bleak, blank, pale, and void, non-existent. And an extended version of that is slave. So we have to stop answering to being called black. You're indigenous or you're American, you have a tribe, Cherokee, Seminole, or whatever, Blackfoot. And so when you say yes to and you answer to being a slave, then you start to act like a slave. And when you perpetuate the whole racism rhetoric and discrimination, even if it is true, and you focus on that, then you multiply it and manifest it in your life. And therefore, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So what I'm encouraging each of us today to do is acknowledge being sovereign. Reign is control. Sob is over. Acknowledge being sovereign and having complete control over your life and start acting like it. And do you know, I posted that video and I said we need to stop blaming white people for where we are in our lives, because we've accepted handouts. We're the ones. Just because people put guns in your neighborhood don't mean you have to pick it up and execute people who look like you. Just because there are drugs around, it doesn't mean you have to take the drug and put it in your veins. Just because you have to, somebody offer you a handout and freebie and welfare and then tell you you can't have your husband in the house if you accept this, You don't have to accept it. You say, I'd rather have my husband than Zaddy to take care of me. We have to take accountability for what we've allowed and never let this happen again. Now, most of the people on that video who watched it said, thank you, Dr. Kia. I appreciate you for telling us that, it's true. We need to take accountability for what we have allowed and never let this happen again. But one man came on the post and said, there's documentation that supports that we have been mistreated. And there's documentation that black men have been mistreated by the system of white supremacy. And he said, what black man do you know that can make it in this system? And it's hard, and it's this, that, and the third. And everybody knows it's the white man's fault. Honestly, I don't know any man classified as black who's not making it. But I will tell you that as long as we keep making excuses, and even if you say cite a reason why, but as long as we keep focusing on that instead of taking accountability for our own lives and getting out of certain situations, we'll keep manifesting that and multiplying that. And then he went on to say, black people have to pay taxes and black people are slaves and black people, got such a hard time. And I said, no, nobody has to pay taxes if you live in a private. There's always a way around the systems that they create. And then I told him nobody's preventing people, black or otherwise, who classify as black or otherwise, from growing our own food, from planting gardens. Nobody's preventing you from that. From amassing precious metals. You don't have the money, then you get with your neighbor or your family members and you invest in precious metals instead of smoking cigarettes and drinking alcohol and partying and carousing. Nobody's preventing you from that. You don't like the government. Nobody's preventing the men from establishing a militia to protect their families. You want to talk about wealth? Who's preventing you from marrying and creating generational wealth together? But a lot of the women have said, I don't want to submit to a man. I'd rather accept a free handout from Zaddy. So we're going to keep blaming other people? And then I said, no, you don't have to pay taxes. Learn to live in a private. You know what he came back and said to me? I know that you don't have to pay taxes. I know this. I know the truth. I know that we're not black. I know. And he started telling me basically that I was right. And I said, then if you know this, then why are you perpetuating this lie that we have to be slaves or live a substandard lifestyle because we bought into this system and we bought into this rhetoric? See, this is my issue with him. And he said, I'm a minister. I know the truth. I said, then if you're a minister, why aren't you teaching the truth? And this is my issue with the so-called black elite, the ministers, the prophets, the pastors, the leaders, because you keep perpetuating the lies and you know the truth. You know we're not black. You know we are indigenous, but you won't tell the truth. You know that we can live in a private sector by creating LLCs and trusts and buying up property through the trust and amassing wealth and putting our assets in a trust instead of putting it in our name, and therefore live in a private sector. But you won't teach it because a lot of you are the so-called elite who have taken oaths to keep us blind, dumb, stupid, and on our knees and begging a Zaddy for a handout. So my issue is with you more so than it is with the so-called white man, because you know the truth and you led us to the clinics to take the so-called cure for this illness because you were paid by Zaddy. You led us to the clinics. You led us in the street marching, rioting, and protesting when you knew that there are other methods of getting around the system, like creating businesses. Because you in bed with Zaddy and you take his money because you in love with Zaddy, but you tell us to hate him. So my issue is that we all need to get on board. We're all in this together. No matter what race, creed, color, nationality you are, we are all in this together. We all know there were nefarious beings that came and took over our countries and created systems to divide us. But now we know that we're sovereign. And now we see the military, the Galactic Federation of Light, presidents and benevolent beings and people behind the scenes working to tear the system down. And my darlings, this is a time of rejoice. Soon we will see a debt jubilee, and soon we will continue to see, like we just saw, the WHO director being arrested while trying to escape and board a plane to Africa. So if you want to get on board, then raise your vibrations, lift your vibrations, get happy, celebrate, and do your part to lift the morale and boost the morale and the joy of the people around you. If you have a husband or a wife, make love to them and do what you need to do to create a happy, joyous family. Stop making excuses for what somebody else did to you. There's no such thing as can't. Ask yourself, instead of saying I can't, ask yourself, how can I? And come up with solutions. Because you can plant your own food. You can educate your own children. You learn to do it during the shutdown. You don't have to depend on the system. We bought into it like a drug. And we've decided not to take our power back. But it's a new day and it's a new season. So let's act like it. And let's form our communities, love our family members, and work together to enjoy the bounties that the Creator has set aside for us. And if you have the money, invest in precious metals or digital assets. And if you don't have that money, your food and your health is your wealth. Your family is your wealth. Okay, so they encouraged us to separate and to fight against each other and have a gender war against the man and the woman so that we can be separated. The best way to create generational wealth is to get married and have a family and love and thrive together. So my name is Dr. Kia Pruitt. I brought you some breaking news today. I hope I've served to lift your vibrations and empower you to behave like sovereign beings, because we're all one human family and we're all in this together. Remember, where we go one, we go all. I love you. Make this a great day. Mwah.